Hi Blockheads, we're back with the second block, which is called Arrowhead for month 3. Before we get started on that, I want to remind you to bring in your blocks so that you can put your name in the prize jar. Throughout the 12 months, we'll be choosing for prizes as well as the major prize at the end, which is free long arming on your block of the month quilt. So don't forget, when you pick up your next block, if you have your month 2 ones done, or when you pick up your next block, if you have the previous months done, bring those in so we can see them and you get to put your name in the prize jar. Okay, this is the second block. It's called Arrowhead. What you will be doing is you will be cutting up those same strips. You should have quite a bit left. And you're gonna make a lot of pieces for this block. Okay, out of the salmon, you will cut 4 2 by 2.5 inch rectangles. Out of the white, you'll cut 1 2.5 inch square. But out of the pink, you're gonna cut a lot. Out of the pink, you're gonna cut 4 2.5 inch squares, 4 1 by 2.5 inch rectangles, and 8 1.5 inch squares. Okay, the major portion of this block is actually these blocks right here. What those are modified flying geese. The only reason they're modified is usually flying geese come to points, and these have the edges straightened up. So that's what makes them modified. But this portion, they're constructed just like a regular flying geese unit. And to make it, what you're going to use is 1 of these and 2 of these. Okay? And it's kind of like, we're going to start kind of like the half square triangle. But this we're actually going to sew on the line that we draw from one corner to another. So I'm going to make my little marks here. And then I'm going to line my ruler up right to the side of those little marks. And then join them. And I want them to go exactly through the corners of my block. Okay? So I need 2 of them to construct 1 unit. Again, line up my marks, join them up. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to sew this to this corner. Now what's important here is that I have this all lined up, because what I'm actually doing is replacing the orange corner with a pink corner. So that's how I'm going to end up. Okay, so I want to be sure that this is all lined up perfectly. And notice I want to go this way, across the corner. Okay, I don't want to go this way. I don't want to end up in the middle of my block with my stitching. My stitching is going to go corner to corner, edge to edge. All right, so let's sew this first one on, and I'm going to sew right on that line. You want to be sure that your stitch length is at 1.8 because this is piecing. All right. Now I want to sew exactly on that line, one edge to the other, one corner to the other. So I'm put my needle down, my presser foot, and sew. Now, how I test to make sure this is correct is I take and I pull this up and let the other go to the back and pull, because when I press, I'll be pressing this really flat, and I make sure that I have straight edges here and straight edges here. And I do. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to get rid of this thread. Okay, and now I'm going to trim this down to a 1/4 inch seam. So it's easiest to do with my friction pen mark still on there. Okay. And now I'm going to press this seam open. So first like I sewed it, and now press it open. Okay, so I've replaced one corner. So now I have to replace this corner. So I'm going to take this one, and you actually want it to end up over here in the pink. So I'm going to line this up again just as if I'm replacing this corner, these edges together, and I'm going to sew edge to edge. Again, be sure you have it this way, not this way. You don't want to end up in the middle of your block. That's how you'll know it's wrong, if you end up with one of your points in the middle of your block. Okay, so lining it up is really important. Okay, now I'm going to put this underneath my presser foot and sew. Okay, I'm going to adjust this. There. Seems fussy, but be fussy here, because you don't want to have to rip this out. These pieces are little, and the less you handle them, the better. Okay, you want to be sure your corner is coming out right at the top edge here. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to test it again. And when I pull it nice and tight like I will when I press it, it looks good. The other thing you're looking for is from here, the point to the edge of your fabric should be it should be a 1/4 inch, because you're going to sew a seam here, and you want to be sure that your point shows. Okay, so I'm going to trim this one just like I did the other one. And like I said, it's easier to trim with your friction pen mark still there, because it's harder to see the stitches than it is that nice black line. Okay, and I'm going to press this one open. Okay, and then the last step to making this unit is I'm going to sew this to the bottom. One of these little 1 by 2.5 inch. Okay, I'm going to sew those to the bottom. And again, keep all your edges together. And we're going to do that with the scant 1/4 inch. Okay, and I can see that my raw edges came apart here, so I'm going to rip that out and fix it, and then I'm going to press this seam open, and then I'm going to move on, and I'm going to construct 3 more just like this. Okay, it's time, if you've got these all sewn together, what you want to do is, these blocks are all cut 2.5 inch square. So you want to measure your blocks that you've put together here and make sure that they still measure 2.5 inches square. If they don't, more than likely they'll be short this way. So if that's true, right now is the time to play with this seam. Make it a little narrower or a little wider, depending on if your block is too big or too small. But these squares should measure 2.5 inches square, just like all of these. Okay, it's time to sew it together. You're going to do just what you did the last time. You're going to sew these together, and these together. And then you're going to press your seams out, in, out. They'll be ready for nesting. You'll sew your rows together and press your seams open. Your block will be completed and it should measure 6.5 inches square.